Hello, guys. This is Get Nourished with Office channel, and on this channel we talk about everything about food. Okay, now in today's video, we are going to look at how to preserve your onions from getting rotten. Now, I went to the market to buy onions, and they were in a larger quantity, so I decided to store some in the kitchen, but I saw that it was getting rotten, so I had to use another means to preserve my onions from getting rotten. So you first start by washing your onions. Get the onions and pour water on them and wash them very well. Wash every part of the onion and make it very nice. Wash the onions very well so that every dirt will move away from the onion. And make sure it is nicely washed and clean. Now after that, you remove the peel of the onion. Remove the peel of the onion. Please make sure the onion is well washed and remove every peel from it. Remove all the peels from it, and even after removing the peel, make sure you cut the onions into two and check whether there is still some of the onions inside that is rotten, so that you can know and remove all those rotten onions out for you to have a very perfect onion. We don't want to spoil our onions or preserve onions which are spoiled. So you make sure you remove every onion that is spoiled from it, like this one, like this. Have you seen? You see inside there's some part of the onion that is getting spoiled, so you divide it into two and you remove all the onion that is getting rotten. Remove everything. Just cut them into two. Don't be lazy. Cut them into two and remove it from it so that your onions will be very free from all the rot before you can find a good way and a means to preserve your onion to be well preserved. Else you see that after cutting it and your onions wouldn't be distant well preserved because there is rotten parts in the onion. So make sure you have removed all. Now after removing all, are you seeing how it is in the bowl? Make sure you wash them again because our onions were getting spoiled and we don't want anything to still continue to decay in it. So you don't want it to get rotten, any of them to get rotten again after you have prepared it to preserve it. So you make sure you wash it very well. Even if you have vinegar, you can put vinegar on it and wash it very well and put it in another bowl. Transfer it in another bowl. You transfer it in another bowl and you get a chopping board. Get a chopping board and you get another bowl in addition to the bowl you added the onions in. Then you get a knife and you start to cut your onions. Please, we are going to blend the onions, so please make sure you have cut the onions into sizable portions. You don't want to destroy your blender, so make sure you cut your onions into sizable portions which wouldn't destroy your blender, and there's already a content of water in the onion, so you make sure the onions, the water you put in the blender is not too much. So listen how I'm cutting them. Yes, you cut them into sizable portions and you make sure they are all equal, and the blender can be able to blend them nicely. Okay, so we are finished cutting our onions, so we are going to put them in our blender. We're going to put the onions in our blender. You pour the onions in your blender and you pour a large quantity in the blender, and make sure the quantity is not too much that the blender cannot. Sometimes the blender would be suffering whilst blending. You can feel that it's suffering, otherwise it will smoke and your blender will get destroyed, and we don't want that. So after cutting them into sizable portions, don't say you've cut them into sizable portions, so you are going to pour a large number of or quantity of onions in it for the blender to blend, or no. Please divide your onions into two, depending on the amount of onions you were trying to preserve. You divide it into two and you try to put the half in the blender first before you put the other quantity also in. After blending, you put the other quantity also in. Okay, so we get our water and we put our water. I didn't use plenty water, so it's just a sizable amount of water. We put our water in our blender and we go and we blend the onions. Oh, this is the blended onion, very nicely blended. You pour it in a bowl. Very nice, very nice. So this is how your onions will turn out to be. Very, very nice. Turn out to be very nice and smooth. As for me, I wanted mine very fine. And if you don't want yours very fine, as in like you don't have any unchopped onion in or unblended onion in, so you blend it very well for a very long time, a little bit before, while spacing in between. Don't blend it, no, it for a little while. So after that, you get this rubber. In Ghana we call it a banku rubber. We call it banku rubber. Then you try to pour the blended onions in the banku rubber just to preserve it. So you tie it like this. Please remember to put the onion that you will need for cooking a particular food. Like maybe you're going to prepare soup, so the amount of onion you need, that is the amount of onion you pour in your bowl. You pour in your bowl so that immediately you are ready to use, you can just go into the fridge and just use it. You just take one from the fridge, you just tear the rubber away and you pour it into your saucepan that you are going to use to cook. Use it to marinate your fish, use it for cooking. And even when you also have other alternatives like ginger and pepper and the rest, based on how you want your onions, you can blend all in at once, so that when you are going to prepare your food, you already have your blended ginger, your blended pepper all in one. Then you can preserve it. But mine, I only preserved the onions. So you use the quantity of onions that you want. in a bowl or in a particular meal. You use in a particular meal. So even if you get this, you can use about two. You can use about two of the onions that you just placed in the rubber. You can use two of those in the rubbers, and I think it will be perfect for you to use. Yeah, so this is the last one that I have. You tie it very nicely and you add it to it. You put it in a bowl. You cover it nicely and you put it in your fridge. And this will last you for a long time enough. When your onions are spoiling, don't let it spoil. Just try to cut them. Just try to cut them and blend them nicely and put them in your fridge. So I have finished. Wow, look at that. Very nice. Very nice. So if you are still watching our video, please make sure you subscribe and turn on your notification bell so that anytime we post video you will be notified. Like and comment, and thank you for watching. Bye.